What's up, everybody? I'm Christina from Barrows, aka Rainbow Eyes here. This episode is going to be all about body. Body. She got legs. And my first try, I used paper clay, and I enhanced a doll, and I gave her bigger boobs and bigger feet and bigger belly, and it looked really great. And so since then I've moved to epoxy, and I've decided to do a little video to show you guys how I do these techniques and how I edit the body so that it looks like me. There she is. This is my little mini me. She's got a little bit bigger breasts and belly to represent my girlish figure, you know what I'm saying? So, and I want to share with you guys how I did it, and you can see the process of how I made this lovely lady. As you can see, a lot different than the one on this side. She has a mycene head, and she has a DC Marvel Superheroes, or I'm sorry, DC Batgirl head. And they look so different, except they have exactly the same body. And how did I do it? With the power of magic. Hang on tight as we go through this little bit of customizing magic do. And here we go. So for this project, I wanted to use DC Superheroes Batgirl doll along with this Made to Move curvy orange top. So a lot of the times I am just super impatient and end up yanking these darn heads off. I found that with a little bit of a finesse with the needle nose pliers, you can kind of wiggle it right off of the head there without having to use any heat or water. Because sometimes I don't want to get the heads wet, and it's just easier to kind of pry it off like a tire and get that off of there instead of getting my whole doll head wet or using heat, which one time I melted a doll's hair doing that. So be careful when you're removing doll heads, because you do want to keep that neck peg intact. Next, we're going to remove all her clothes and prep the body to get ready for her mod. I usually clean the doll really good and make sure there's no excess debris or anything before I do my mods. Here we're going to get some sandpaper, and I was using a 3000 fine grit and a 320 for the harder grit, and we do a little bit of both. I start out with the 320, which is I got a good hard tooth on there, and that'll help the epoxy adhere to the body. One of the mistakes I made the first time trying this out was I didn't use any gloves with the epoxy, and I did get a lot of plastic and junk stuck in my fingers, and the clay would start to stick to my fingers and it wouldn't give you a nice smooth surface. So I highly recommend getting a nice, good fitting pair of gloves in order to do these mods with the plastic. So I like to actually put aside a little bit of the epoxy for later so that I don't have all of it mixed at once. I'll take like half of it and put it aside unmixed so that when I need to add more or move on to the next body part, I have it just ready there and just mix it as I need it. Another trick I learned was to get the epoxy a little cooler before putting it on the doll, and so I put it on a cold metal surface in order to cool it off, and I used a chilled glass jar in order to roll out sort of the imperfections. Here you see me making a little pooch and tightening my gloves so that I can start applying the epoxies to the body. I made sure it was clean and there was no more sand from the sanding. The technique I use is a sort of a patting motion Do a little tappy, tap tap. And we're just gonna smoosh, sort of smoosh my belly on there. Smoosh that belly on there. Get in my belly. I've been saving that one, by the way. That's an oldie. I focus mainly on the sides and the edges, and I tap it in, kind of not as fast as this, I wish, but I tap it in pretty aggressively until it starts to pancake around the edges. And you want to kind of work slowly and push it just ever so gently, but not too slow, because remember, we're working with an air drying plastic clay. Once it gets to a certain consistency, the epoxy begins to shine up, and here it looks like I'm using water, but I'm actually just using the sheen from the latex gloves, and I'm sort of doing a polish onto the plastic to get that nice smooth look there, focusing on the edges with a metal chopstick to get that as flush as possible. And I do a lot of tapping and shaping with the stick, and sometimes the tapping creates folds because the gloves are not perfectly on my hands. Well, obviously there's a little bit of a sort of a hindrance there with the gloves, but I learned that if I just do a really quick tapping motion, I can get a nice shape. Oh, you want a little bit of an inset belly button. I know for me personally, this is how my belly button kind of looks. It's sort of a deep one. This was modeled after my own body because I made a mini me, and this is how I learned to do this body, because I just wanted a doll that kind of looked like me. And that's why I'm doing this for you all, so that you guys can see this little technique that I did. I thought it was fun to share. A lot of people seemed interested in it on Facebook and on Instagram. So I was brave, and here I am making a video. Woohoo! I really don't know what I'm doing. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for sticking around for like whatever 30 minutes that this video is going to be. And here you can see I'm applying the breasts. I basically rolled out a cone and then smooshed it onto the top of the existing breasts. And I left a gap in between, just because I like how that looks in clothes, and it gives it sort of a little bit more of a natural look, and it kind of has that in the bra look when you put the clothes on the doll. So it's, you know, just a matter of preference whether you want to make the boobies collide and give her a really lovely set of cleavage so that you can do lower cut or bikinis or things like that. And here you can see the finished product. She's got a boob job and a belly bulge. And yes, this is kind of what I look like. I would say mine's a little bit chubbier because, you know, quarantine, hashtag no. But here we are. So we want to let her dry. One sleeps. And then we get ready to do more sanding. 95% of this project is sanding, just so you know. And the other 5% it would be color matching and painting. And then 2% Moxie. So I do a lot of sanding and wiping. I'm just using a very fine tissue paper to wipe away the excess, and checking the edges to see if they're becoming flush. I'm still getting the hang of how to apply the boobs and how I want to get cleavage and stuff. So this is my 4th attempt at a boob augmentation. So y'all are learning with me, but I feel like this is probably my best augment so far. So I'm definitely getting better, and I'm kind of gonna perhaps plan a cleavage situation doll in the future, where we do one where she's got, you know, a sort of low cut style boob. We'll see how that goes. Alright, here I want to point out something on the belly. You can see there's a lot of uneven parts, and that's what you want to focus on when you're doing the stomach. You really want to get it nice and even and sand it until you don't see any of the discolors up and down raising. You want to get it all one nice solid even sanded color. That'll help show you where you need to sand. And I like to wipe often and use fresh pieces of sandpaper to get sort of the best sanding experience, because my husband, who he was in the military, he learned how to sand, and he kind of really, you know, drilled it into me to use good sandpaper and different grits, and so I feel like he imparted a lot of good knowledge on me for this part of the project. So I just want to share that with y'all, that it's best to use new pieces more often and keep your area clean and wipe it away, and you'll see really good quick results with your sanding. So here she is. I've gone in the fine sanding, and you can see there's a fine polish now. Oh, hello. Welcome, ladies. Yes, I'm a real girl. She's got a lot of grit and debris inside of the joints and crevices, so I make a big effort to get all that grit out of there, because I don't want it to scratch up, you know, when she's moving around. And I'm going to get ready to paint, so I want it to be all nice and clean. The colors I used to match this specific Barbie was a portrait pink and an unbleached white, which came out almost perfect. Just a little bit of each one to make a really nice color blend. But I would say even your regular standard craft paint might be more ideal, because it doesn't have that high viscosity or sheen that this type of paint tends to have, and so you won't get as much brush strokes or sheen or shininess. But I can't say for sure, because I've only used this high viscosity and also the student paint, which didn't look really well. And I've used gouache, which I do not recommend doing gouache over epoxy for color matching. It was a nightmare. So here you can see the color matching is almost complete. Oh, one of my best color matchings. I really made an effort to just paint right up against the plastic and only cover the epoxy. That really helps to sell the realism and not to get too much paint on the manufacturer plastic. You can see on the side there I got a little bit of paint going on. And, you know, obviously there's a bit of human error, but if you keep at it and keep sanding, you'll eventually get a flush. So let's move on to the hair. I actually didn't get to film much of the hair process. It took so long. It took me hours and hours to make wefts, and I didn't even have a plan in mind. I'll be honest with you guys. I really wanted to make a cutie, sweet treats Lolita girl with this head. I wanted to give her inset eyes. I was really ambitious. I wanted to give her rainbow pigtails and do all kinds of stuff. But I don't know, something just spoke to me with this doll as I progressed with her. I ended up with this beautiful array of rainbow yarn wefts that I started making her a mohawk. and I don't know, she kind of came out a little edgier than I intended, and I decided not to cut the eyes out because I didn't want to make eyes. Didn't have any epoxy, so I've ordered that, so maybe in my next video I can do something like that. But yeah, so back to the video. Here we go. Oh, here's my patented technique of removing those hair plugs. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is a one-of-a-kind tool. You can't get it anywhere but here at BarberDoc.com. Using your tool to get that freaking pesky hair plugs out. But she's done. There she is. Time to wipe that face off, girl. Makeover. Holla holla. I don't know if I should be wearing gloves. I've tried them. They just end up disintegrating. So I end up just using a really big wad of paper towels and try to keep the liquid away from my fingers. But as you can see here, I am using my nail to clean the mouth out, and voila! Minor acetone burns later. Here we have a finished head. So this is all I really got of that hair making process. The one and only weft that I was able to capture on film. I tied a basket to my desk, and I just one by one unraveled hairs for about 6 hours. So it took me a whole day to do that hair. It wasn't straight out. I took a few breaks. But it felt like the longest thing ever. And I gotta say that this process really taught me patience. I'm really impatient. I just want to get it done, and that has been sort of my Achilles heel this whole doll making journey is yarn hair. So this is my real first official yarn hair journey, and I apologize that I don't have any footage of me doing her actual hair. But if you guys really liked how it came out, I will make another video of just the hair. Okay, so hair reveal for later. We're gonna go to the face up, my favorite part. I just love face ups. I have so many freaking doll heads that are just painted and have no body because I love a certain body, and I put those heads on that body, and it's kind of like that movie from Return to Oz with you know, mother or mom who had all the heads in her cabinets. Yeah, that it scarred me for life apparently. So here I am, Mumsy, with all her heads, and I was going for a little anime look. I wanted to do sparkly eyes inset, but I figured, oh, let's try drawing on sparkly eyes. And rainbow eyes is my signature handle on Instagram, so I thought I would do a little bit of rainbow eye makeup for her rainbow eyes signature. I used to do a lot of videos about crystals and metaphysics, but ever since quarantine hit, I kind of went into this sort of self-healing inner child shadow work mode, and that's led me to a path of really finding out what is it that brings me true joy. What is it, a spark of joy, so to speak. Just fell in love with this process because growing up there was never any dolls that kind of represented the fuller figure, and I loved Barbie, and I have a sort of a doll trauma. When I was young, my mother, she didn't like the dolls. Her sister gave me a lot of Barbies when I was young, and my mother didn't like that. She had a little bit of a thing against it, and she one day took all my dolls and said that their bodies objectified women, and she took off their heads and threw away the bodies and gave me the heads. And so I feel like I had this doll trauma since I was a child. About a year ago, my husband, who loves to collect Hot Wheels, he kind of got me my first doll, which opened Pandora's box. And here we are a year later, and I'm doing my first doll video. Oh my god. I have like 80,000 freaking dolls now. I am now owner of 2 EC Dawn Dancers. No. But yeah, I mean, I even know doll maker brands now, and I feel like I have some sort of weird hobby that is feeding my inner child and really helping to heal my soul, and I'm finding a lot of joy in it. Look how cute her body looks with this little outfit and the boobs and the belly. I really like how she looks sitting, because it's got that nice little pooch coming out, kind of like myself over here, you know, it's a little bit of a pooch coming out. But that's me, that's natural, and this I feel like represents more realistic women's bodies, and I hope you guys appreciate this video and found value in it, and we will see you soon. Here's some pictures. Bye, babies.